A black janitor empties trash in a corporate boardroom filled with executives. Their CEO and CFO mock him openly, calling him help who doesn't know his place. Elijah Collins enters the gleaming boardroom of TechVision Enterprises, pushing his janitorial cart quietly toward the overflowing waste bin. The executive meeting pauses as he approaches. CFO Bradley Turner snickers loudly, nudging the woman beside him. Looks like the help doesn't know his place. CEO Alexandra Bennett joins with a cold smile. I guess when you hire these people, you can't expect much more than manual labor. Elijah continues methodically emptying trash bins, face impassive as snickers ripple through the room. Bradley raises his voice. Hey, do you need instructions for operating a trash can? He turns to his colleagues. This is what happens with affirmative action hires. Basic competence becomes optional. The executives laugh as Elijah finishes his task. He turns, locks eyes with Bradley for 3 silent seconds, then exits without a word. Little do they know, the man they just humiliated holds their company's fate in his calloused hands. TechVision Enterprises towers over the financial district. In the parking lot, an unassuming sedan pulls into a space marked Maintenance Staff Only. Elijah Collins checks his reflection. His tailored blazer and crisp button-down speak of executive boardrooms, not maintenance closets. With practiced movements, he changes into a gray janitor's uniform and adjusts the badge, granting him access to every floor. 3 days earlier, Elijah had met Terrell Jackson, TechVision's retiring head of maintenance, in a small diner. It's worse than I told you, Terrell said, voice low. 23 discrimination complaints in 18 months. All buried. 3 suicide attempts in the diversity program. Elijah nods grimly. And you're sure about the CFO and CEO? They're the worst offenders, creating the culture from the top down. Now, pushing his cleaning cart through TechVision's lobby, Elijah observes. Executives stiffen as he approaches, eyes sliding away. In the executive break room, Bradley deliberately knocks over his coffee cup. Oops, looks like you've got work to do. As Elijah cleans the spill, Bradley leans toward Alexandra. This is why we need to outsource cleaning. These people don't maintain our standards. Later, mopping near a conference room, Elijah overhears their strategy. The diversity complaints are becoming a problem, Alexandra says. I've spoken to legal, Bradley replies. Document everything as performance issues. Never mention race or gender. The usual playbook. Elijah's mop never stops moving, but his ears catch every word. As Elijah empties Bradley's trash, a confidential diversity report slides into view, the smoking gun he came to find. 3 days into his undercover work, Elijah cleans the break room glass while observing a meeting in the adjacent conference room. Maya Parker, a poised black woman, points to a market analysis slide. If we shift focus to Southeast Asia instead of Europe, projections show 24% growth instead of 15%. That's a bit aggressive, interrupts Mark Lawson, a white manager with a perpetual smirk. We should stick with established markets. Maya's suggestions disappear into silence. 20 minutes later, Mark presents Maya's exact Southeast Asia strategy as his own. Brilliant pivot, Mark, says another manager. That's innovative thinking. As the meeting disperses, Bradley appears. Maya, a word? Elijah positions his cart within earshot. I'm hearing you've been dominating discussions again, Bradley says, voice low but sharp. Remember our conversation about team dynamics? Maya straightens. I presented data-backed suggestions as is my job. If that's dominating, it's about how you present yourself, Bradley cuts in. You come across as combative, aggressive, not a good look. When Mark presents the same ideas, Mark knows how to be a team player. This attitude is exactly why you're still at this level. Consider this a formal warning. Elijah's hand slips, sending cleaning supplies clattering to the floor. Bradley strides toward him, looming over. Can't even do a simple job without making a scene? His voice rises, drawing onlookers. Clean that coffee spill. Now. And do it properly. Elijah kneels silently, absorbing the humiliation as executives pass by, some smirking. Later, Maya approaches him in an empty hallway. I'm sorry about earlier. Bradley shouldn't have spoken to you that way. Elijah looks up, his response measured but articulate. Things won't always be this way, Ms. Parker. Change is coming sooner than you think. Maya studies him, surprised by his confident tone. You sound very sure of that. I am, Elijah replies simply. Outside in his car, Elijah makes a call. Send everything on Turner and Bennett. I've seen enough to move forward. Heavy silence blankets the executive floor as Elijah moves deliberately among the potted plants, wiping invisible dust from their glossy leaves. The quarterly board meeting starts in 30 minutes and tensions run high. He positions himself near the windows of the main boardroom, cleaning tools arranged with military precision. Bradley Turner enters, immaculate in a tailored charcoal suit that probably costs more than Elijah's staged car. His eyes narrow at Elijah's presence. What are you doing here? Bradley demands, voice sharp. The board meeting is about to start. Just finishing the windows, sir, Elijah responds, eyes appropriately downcast. Alexandra Bennett strides in, phone pressed to her ear. She pauses mid-sentence when she spots Elijah. Why is he here? She mouths to Bradley. Bradley's lips curl. He's just leaving. Aren't you? Almost done, sir, Elijah replies. Alexandra covers her phone. Just finish quickly and stay out of the way. We can't have the board distracted by maintenance issues. Elijah nods and continues working as board members begin to arrive. Distinguished men and women in expensive suits filter in, casting curious glances his way. Some wrinkle their noses slightly, as though his presence sullies the rarefied air. Bradley makes a show of checking his watch. Are you still here? He approaches Elijah, voice rising for the benefit of arriving executives. This is taking far too long. As if by accident, Bradley's shoulder catches Elijah's cleaning cart, sending supplies clattering across the polished floor. Spray bottles, cloths, and trash bags scatter in all directions. The room falls silent. For God's sake, Bradley says, exasperation dripping from each word. Since you're struggling with basic cleaning, let me give you a demonstration. He forces Elijah to kneel and re-clean the entire area while board members watch, some uncomfortable, others amused. Bradley stands over him, criticizing each movement. No, not like that. Are you even trying? This is elementary work. My children could do better housekeeping than this. When the final board member arrives, Bradley gestures to a corner of the room. Stand there. Don't move unless we need something. And try not to breathe too loudly. For the next 2 hours, Elijah stands motionless, a human prop in the theater of corporate power. Throughout the meeting, Bradley finds opportunities to reference him. Hand me that report, boy, he calls out once, emphasizing the last word while making eye contact with certain board members. During discussion of diversity initiatives, Bradley laughs. We've met our quota of affirmative action hires, as you can see. He gestures toward Elijah. Though I'm not sure it's improving our efficiency. Numbers look good on paper, but reality tells a different story. From his corner, Elijah observes everything. The board reviews hiring statistics showing systemic rejection of qualified minority candidates, disguised under vague terms like cultural fit and communication style. They discuss reducing investment in diversity programs as not delivering adequate ROI and creating unnecessary complications in the hiring process. Most executives nod along, but Elijah notices one younger Asian man, Kevin Zhang, shifting uncomfortably, his eyes occasionally meeting Elijah's with something like apology. When Alexandra mentions streamlining certain departments with culture issues, Kevin opens his mouth as if to speak, then closes it, making a note instead. When the meeting concludes, board members file out, some chuckling at private jokes, others deep in conversation about quarterly projections. Bradley approaches Elijah, removing his coffee-stained suit jacket. He dangles it from 2 fingers as though holding something distasteful. "Make yourself useful and have this cleaned. I need it back by tomorrow." His voice drops to a near whisper. "And try not to ruin it further. This costs more than you make in a month." Elijah accepts the jacket with appropriate deference. In the pocket, a company credit card receipt peeks out, from Diamond Gentlemen's Club with a $3,200 charge marked Client Entertainment. Bradley doesn't notice Elijah's momentary pause as his fingers register the paper's texture. "Yes, sir," Elijah murmurs, folding the jacket carefully over his arm, making sure the receipt remains exactly where it is. "Anything else?" "That will be all," Bradley dismisses him with a wave. "Just make yourself scarce for the rest of the day. Important people have real work to do." In the sanctuary of his car, Elijah photographs the receipt and texts it with 6 words. "Phase 2 begins tomorrow. Legal team ready." Night finds Elijah in his downtown penthouse, a space that contradicts everything his tech vision persona suggests. Floor-to-ceiling windows frame the city skyline, while monitors display tech vision data streams, stock performance, intercepted emails, personnel files. Another wall holds framed magazine covers featuring Elijah Collins, founder and CEO of Collins Capital Group. He uploads recordings from micro-devices in his uniform buttons, then extracts Bradley's receipt with gloved hands. His secure phone rings. "We've been reviewing your transmissions," says Morgan Chen, his chief legal officer. "The evidence of hostile work environment is compelling. The racial comments alone would trigger a major lawsuit." "What about the discrimination reports I found?" Elijah asks. "Damning. They clearly show qualified minority candidates being rejected despite superior credentials." "And our position?" "We've acquired 12% of TechVision stock through shell companies. No SEC disclosure triggers yet." "Accelerate the timeline," Elijah directs. "What do we have on Turner and Bennett personally?" Zoe Washington, his intelligence director, responds, "Both have histories of discrimination complaints. Bradley left his last 2 positions under NDAs after racial discrimination allegations. We need whistleblower protections ready for employees who might come forward, Maya Parker especially." "Already prepared," Morgan confirms. After ending the call, Elijah studies TechVision's organizational chart, lingering on photos of Bradley and Alexandra. In his bathroom mirror, Elijah practices his transformation. Shoulders hunched, eyes downcast, voice softened. A photo on his nightstand shows a younger Elijah with an older black man in front of Collins and Baker legal advocates. He remembers his early career, the discrimination cases he fought, the promotions denied. "Never again," he whispers. "Not if I can help it." His phone chimes. 11% more secured. Need only 4% for controlling interest, but meeting moved to tomorrow. Dawn breaks over TechVision as Elijah arrives earlier than usual. The executive floor sits silent and dim. Pushing his cart slowly, Elijah pauses near the partially open conference room door. Inside, Bradley and Alexandra huddle over laptops. "We need to move quickly on the restructuring," Alexandra says. "Start with Parker's department. They've generated the most complaints." Bradley nods. "I've flagged the troublemakers. We'll call it organizational streamlining, perfectly legal on paper." "What about the diversity initiative press release?" "All talk, zero substance, promises without metrics or timelines. Meanwhile, we continue hiring who we want." Later, Elijah positions himself near Bradley's office. Through glass walls, he watches the CFO on a call. "Buy 10,000 shares before the announcement," Bradley says. "The acquisition news drops Thursday. Stock will jump at least 15%. I signed the paperwork myself yesterday." Elijah deliberately enters, heading for the trash bin. Bradley's face contorts with rage. He covers the phone. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" "Trash collection, sir. Schedule says, get out, now!" When Elijah doesn't move quickly enough, Bradley explodes. "Are you deaf as well as stupid? I said get out, boy!" As Elijah turns to leave, Bradley continues, voice rising. This is why your kind stays exactly where you are. No awareness, no common sense. The racial slur that follows is captured clearly by Elijah's hidden recording device. Later, Bradley forces Elijah to clean the same carpet section repeatedly during a department meeting, deliberately creating messes for him to return to. Notice how he can't even finish a simple cleaning task? Bradley announces. This is what happens when you hire to fill quotas instead of finding quality people. Some executives laugh. Others study their phones, uncomfortable but silent. Afterward, Kevin Zhang approaches Elijah privately. I wanted to apologize. That behavior was unacceptable. Not your fault, sir, Elijah responds, staying in character. It's still wrong. Has it always been this bad? Elijah seizes the opening. Seems normal around here. Is morale always this low among staff? Kevin sighs. It's gotten worse recently. Good people leaving, strange promotion decisions. Elijah's phone vibrates silently. Final 4% secured. Collins Capital now controls TechVision Enterprises. Midday sun glares through TechVision's windows as Elijah polishes glass partitions near human resources. Inside, Alexandra speaks with Diane Winters, the HR director. I need everything documented on Maya Parker, Alexandra says, sliding a folder across. Performance issues, insubordination, anything we can use. Diane hesitates. Her reviews have been consistently excellent. Her team has the highest productivity metrics. Alexandra's nails tap impatiently. Then create documentation. Missed deadlines, communication problems. Get creative. But there's nothing. Let me be clear. We need to make an example of employees who don't understand their place. Maya's attitude is infecting others. The board is concerned about cultural alignment. This feels questionable. Alexandra leans forward. Your job is to protect the company, not question its direction, unless you'd prefer to join the positions we're eliminating. Later, Elijah spots Maya alone in the break room. He enters, wiping counters while calculating his approach. Excuse me, Miss Parker. She looks up, surprised. Yes? Elijah glances around to ensure they're alone. I thought you should know. There's talk about building a case against you, for termination. Maya's face remains composed, but her hand freezes. Why are you telling me this? Not everyone here believes in what's happening, Elijah responds, allowing a hint of his true articulation to surface. Document everything, save emails, record meetings if legal. Suspicion flickers across her face. How would you know about this? People talk freely around those they consider invisible. That afternoon, Bradley summons the head of security. We need to tighten access to executive floors, Bradley instructs. Too many unauthorized personnel wandering around. The security chief nods. Any specific concerns? Bradley points directly at Elijah. I don't want to see him up here anymore. Restrict his access to lower floors only. But sir, he's on the approved maintenance rotation. Change it, Bradley snaps. I'm tired of explaining myself. 20 minutes later, security officers approach Elijah. Mr. Collins, we've been instructed to escort you to maintenance. Your assignment is being changed effective immediately. As they lead him to the elevator, Bradley watches with satisfaction. Maybe this will teach you to stay where you belong, he calls after them. In the elevator, the officers look uncomfortable. Sorry about this, one murmurs. Just following orders. Once alone, Elijah makes a decisive call. Move up the timeline. I'm done gathering evidence. We go public tomorrow. Morning light bathes TechVision's lobby as Elijah enters, Janitor's uniform subtly transformed. The same gray coveralls appear freshly pressed. His work boots replaced with polished leather shoes only distinguishable as work footwear upon close inspection. This will be his final day as the janitor. The security guard recognizes him. Mr. Collins, I'm sorry, but you're restricted from executive floors. Elijah nods calmly. I understand. I just need to collect my personal items from the maintenance locker on 30. The guard hesitates, then nods. I'll call up first. Minutes later, Elijah steps off the elevator onto the executive floor with a security officer. Bradley spots him immediately and storms out. "What is he doing here? I was explicitly clear about this." "He's just collecting personal effects, sir." Bradley's eyes narrow as he notices Elijah's improved appearance. "This isn't a social visit. Get your things and get out. Now." Bradley follows as Elijah walks toward the maintenance closet, continuing his tirade. This is exactly the kind of insubordination I've been talking about. No respect for protocols. At the locker, Elijah methodically removes his few possessions. With deliberate slowness, he begins to remove his janitor's jacket. "What are you doing?" Bradley demands, growing unsettled by Elijah's calm demeanor. Underneath the jacket, Elijah wears a crisp white shirt, far too high quality for maintenance staff. Elijah checks his watch, a subtle Patek Philippe that costs more than Bradley's monthly salary. A small crowd is gathered. Bradley, aware of the audience, makes one final attempt to reassert dominance. He gestures to a fresh coffee spill. "Before you go, clean that up. Show everyone what you're good for." The executives hold their breath. Elijah looks at the spill, then at his watch. His expression shifts almost imperceptibly, the mask of subservience falling away. "I believe my car is here now," Elijah says, his voice suddenly rich with education and authority. "The spill will have to wait for my replacement." As security escorts him toward the elevators, Bradley follows, determined to have the last word. At the elevator, Elijah turns to the security officers. "Please inform Ms. Bennett and Mr. Turner that I'll see them at the shareholders' meeting in 1 hour. They'll want to prepare themselves." In the garage below, a sleek black Bentley waits, its driver holding the door to a world Bradley cannot imagine. The TechVision shareholders' meeting buzzes with murmurs. Board members and major investors fill the conference room, drawn by rumors of unexpected announcements. Bradley and Alexandra display confident smiles, seemingly unaware of the seismic shift about to occur. Despite market headwinds, our Q2 results exceeded projections by 7%, Bradley announces. Our strategic workforce optimization. The double doors swing open. Elijah enters, transformed. Gone is any trace of the janitor. In his place stands a commanding presence in a perfectly tailored suit. His posture impeccable, eyes direct and unwavering. Security moves to intercept him, but the board chairman raises his hand. "Let him through." Recognition flashes across his face. "Mr. Collins, this is unexpected." Bradley freezes mid-sentence. Alexandra's smile falters. "Who is this?" she whispers. "Why is the janitor wearing a suit?" The chairman stands. "Ladies and gentlemen, for those who don't know him, this is Elijah Collins, CEO of Collins Capital Group." He pauses, glancing at a tablet. "I've just been informed that Collins Capital has acquired controlling interest in TechVision Enterprises." The room erupts in murmurs. Bradley's face drains of color. Elijah walks to the podium, making deliberate eye contact with Bradley and Alexandra. "Some of you know me as the janitor who's been working here for the past 2 weeks, he begins, voice rich and measured. Others know me as the CEO of Collins Capital Group. Today, I'm here as both. He taps the presentation controls, replacing Bradley's slides with new content. For 14 days, I've been conducting a thorough assessment of TechVision's corporate culture. The screen displays a timeline. What I discovered was deeply troubling. Elijah plays the first recording, Bradley's voice using racial slurs, followed by Alexandra's laughter. The room grows deathly quiet. This isn't an isolated incident, Elijah continues, advancing through slides showing documented discrimination, biased hiring patterns, and suppression of diversity complaints. TechVision's official diversity report shows impressive numbers, Elijah notes. Yet the confidential version I found tells a different story. He displays both documents side by side. And then there's the financial impropriety. The screen shows Bradley's Gentleman's Club receipt. Company funds used for personal entertainment, disguised as client meetings. Bradley half rises. This is preposterous. You can't just— I can and I am, Elijah cuts him off. As controlling shareholder, I have both the right and responsibility to address gross misconduct. Maya Parker enters with several employees. I'd like to introduce Maya Parker, whose career advancement has been deliberately suppressed despite outstanding performance. Maya steps forward. For 3 years, I've watched less qualified colleagues promoted over me. My ideas stolen, my accomplishments minimized. When I raised concerns, I was labeled difficult and not a team player. Other employees share similar stories. Kevin Zhang confirms their accounts, admitting his own failure to act. Elijah returns to the podium. Before I built Collins Capital, I served as a federal judge specializing in workplace discrimination cases. I've seen this pattern too many times. He removes his suit jacket, revealing the janitor's uniform shirt underneath with its Elijah name tag. I've built companies worth billions, but I've never forgotten what it feels like to be judged by the color of my skin rather than my character. TechVision has a cancer growing inside it, and today, we begin treatment. Elijah's voice resonates through the silent room. I call for an immediate vote of no confidence in the current leadership. Chaos erupts in the boardroom. Board members huddle in urgent, whispered conversations, while Bradley and Alexandra consult with their attorneys. Howard Griffith, the board chairman, raps his gavel until order returns. Given the evidence presented and Mr. Collins's controlling interest, we will proceed with the vote. Within 40 minutes, both Bradley and Alexandra are removed as officers of TechVision, effective immediately. The vote isn't close. Please surrender your company credentials, Howard instructs them. Security will escort you from the building. Bradley finds his voice. This is a hostile takeover disguised as a social justice crusade. You'll hear from my attorneys. Elijah meets his gaze. I welcome legal scrutiny, Mr. Turner. In fact, I'm counting on it. As security leads them away, Bradley turns back. You think you've won? You have no idea how to run this company. Actually, Elijah responds calmly, I do, but I won't be running it. He turns to the board. I nominate Kevin Zhang as interim CEO and Maya Parker as Chief Diversity Officer. The board approves both appointments, still reeling from the morning's events. Outside the boardroom, employees gather as Bradley and Alexandra walk the gauntlet, escorted by security. Inside, Elijah meets with remaining executives. This isn't just about two bad actors. This is about a culture that enabled them. He surveys the faces. Some of you participated actively, others stood by silently. Both approaches perpetuated the problem. No one speaks. No one meets his gaze. Starting today, Collins Capital will conduct a full audit of all departments, reviewing compensation structures, promotion histories, and every discrimination complaint filed in the last 5 years. Across town, Bradley and Alexandra face their own reckonings. This is outrageous, Bradley fumes in his lawyer's office. He entrapped me. His attorney shakes his head. One-party consent is legal in this state. His recordings are admissible. What about invasion of privacy? Defamation? Truth is an absolute defense against defamation. And you made these statements in a workplace, often in public areas. Alexandra's meeting follows a similar pattern. Her attorney slides a document across the desk. The company's insurance is denying coverage for your legal defense. What? Why? Willful misconduct exclusion. The evidence is too strong. You're on your own for legal expenses and potential damages. Back at TechVision, Elijah works with the new leadership to implement immediate changes. Effective immediately, all hiring will use blind resume reviews, Elijah announces. Interview panels must include diverse representatives. Promotion criteria will be transparent. Maya unveils a new anonymous reporting system with third-party oversight. By nightfall, business channels run breaking stories with headlines like, Janitor revealed as billionaire investor in dramatic corporate takeover. The company's stock drops 5% in after-hours trading, then climbs again, ending 3% higher than opening. Competitors announce reviews of their own diversity practices, fearful of becoming the next target. Elijah meets privately with employees who experienced discrimination, authorizing back pay for lost promotions, salary adjustments, and formal apologies. Meanwhile, Bradley attempts to rally support from other executives. His calls go unanswered. Former allies suddenly have full schedules. Country club members find excuses to change tables when he approaches. By week's end, TechVision has new leadership, new policies, and a cautiously optimistic workforce. At the final transition meeting, Elijah addresses the assembled department heads. What happened here wasn't unique to TechVision, but your response can be. You have an opportunity to transform this company into a model of equity and inclusion, not because it's trendy, but because diverse organizations are stronger, more innovative, and ultimately more profitable. As executives file out, Maya stays behind. Why did you do it this way? You could have just purchased the company and fired them. Elijah considers her question. Justice isn't just about outcomes, it's about truth. I needed everyone to see the reality that people like you experienced every day. Change doesn't stick unless people understand why it's necessary. The SEC announces a formal investigation into Bradley's insider trading activities after receiving an anonymous tip with detailed documentation. The federal courthouse looms imposing against the morning sky, media vans clustered around its steps. Inside hearing room 3B, Bradley Turner and Alexandra Bennett occupy separate tables with expensive legal counsel. Across the room, regulatory investigators organize evidence. The hearing examiner calls the session to order. Today we address allegations against the former leadership of TechVision Enterprises, including workplace discrimination, hostile work environment, financial impropriety, and securities violations. Throughout the morning, former employees detail their experiences. A black software engineer describes being passed over for promotion 6 times despite leading successful projects. An Asian product manager recounts Bradley calling her one of the good ones. A pregnant marketing director explains how Alexandra suggested she consider career options more compatible with motherhood. The afternoon brings a more devastating blow. Former employees from their previous companies appear, revealing a pattern spanning decades. At Meridian Tech, Mr. Turner established what he called the culture committee that reviewed all candidates, testifies a former HR director. In private, he instructed us to use this process to filter out diversity hires who wouldn't fit our culture. Investigators detail Bradley's financial violations, personal expenses charged to the company, falsified reports, insider trading. On March 14th, Mr. Turner purchased 10,000 shares through a shell company one day before TechVision announced an acquisition that raised stock values by 23%, the financial investigator explains. Alexandra attempts to distance herself. I had no knowledge of Mr. Turner's financial activities. Our roles were distinct. Elijah, seated in the back row, hands a document to the commission's counsel. We have audio recordings that suggest otherwise, Ms. Bennett. The room falls silent as Alexandra's voice fills the space. Keep those diversity complaints buried, Bradley. Use whatever financial resources you need, just make it go away. By late afternoon, Bradley's composure finally cracks. Under precise questioning, his answers grow contradictory. Everyone does it, he finally erupts. Every company manages these issues the same way. It's standard practice. Are you admitting to systematic discrimination, Mr. Turner? The examiner asks. Bradley's attorney places a warning hand on his arm, but it's too late. The focus on diversity is destroying meritocracy, Bradley continues. We were protecting company culture. If certain people don't advance as quickly, that's not discrimination. It's business. The examiner's expression hardens. Thank you for clarifying your position. After 3 days of testimony, the verdict arrives. Both Bradley and Alexandra are barred from serving as officers or directors of any publicly traded company for 10 years. Significant financial penalties are imposed. Criminal charges for financial crimes remain pending. As they exit the courthouse, Reporters shout questions. Bradley pushes through without comment, his face a mask of rage and humiliation. At the curb, Bradley checks his phone to find his personal accounts frozen, pending further investigation. As the courthouse doors close behind them, neither realizes they've just experienced the easier part of their downfall. 6 months pass. TechVision's glass headquarters now houses a fundamentally different organization, one where merit truly determines advancement and diversity strengthens innovation. Kevin Zhang has grown into his role as CEO with remarkable assurance. His office door remains literally and figuratively open, a stark contrast to Alexandra's former closed-door policy. Maya Parker, now company president and diversity officer, leads a monthly all-hands meeting presenting unfiltered diversity metrics. Today's slides show dramatic improvements. Representation of underrepresented groups up 31%. Retention rates equalized across demographics. Innovation metrics at record highs. The numbers tell a story of transformation, Maya explains, but the real change is in how it feels to work here. Across town, Elijah takes the stage at the annual Tech Leadership Conference, commanding immediate attention from the industry's most powerful figures. 6 months ago, I spent 2 weeks as a janitor at TechVision. Elijah begins without preamble. What I witnessed wasn't unique to that company. It's an industry-wide cancer we've normalized for too long. He displays anonymized quotes from tech executives about diversity, many eerily similar to Bradley and Alexandra's statements. These attitudes create hostile environments that drive away talent and stifle innovation. They're not just morally wrong, they're bad business. The presentation shifts to TechVision's performance since the leadership change. Increased patent filings, improved employee satisfaction, reduced turnover, rising stock value. Inclusive companies outperform their peers, Elijah concludes. The question is, will you make changes voluntarily, or will shareholders eventually force your hand? Within weeks, major tech companies announce new diversity initiatives. Industry publications run special issues on corporate culture transformation. Recruiting firms report increased demand for diverse candidates at executive levels. No one wants to be the next TechVision, a rival CEO admits privately. Collins has every tech board wondering if the janitor emptying their trash might actually own their company tomorrow. Meanwhile, regulatory agencies implement new reporting requirements. The SEC now mandates detailed disclosure of diversity metrics and workplace complaints as material information for investors. At TechVision, former employees who were forced out return under new leadership. The company establishes a reparation fund for those affected by past discrimination. Industry publication Tech Forward releases its cover story. The Janitor Who Changed Silicon Valley, How Elijah Collins's undercover operation transformed tech industry culture. In his downtown office, Elijah reviews the article with measured satisfaction. On his desk sits an invitation bearing the presidential seal, a request to join a White House forum on workplace discrimination. The handwritten note reads, "Your methods were unorthodox, but the results speak for themselves. We need your voice at the table." As Elijah confirms his attendance, his team quietly compiles research on their next target, a financial services giant whose culture makes TechVision look progressive by comparison. Morning light filters through the windows of Elijah Collins's office at Collins Capital Group headquarters. He reviews quarterly reports on his tablet. TechVision's transformation has exceeded even his optimistic projections. Employee retention up 47%. Innovation metrics showing record patent filings. Market capitalization increased by nearly a third. Kevin Zhang and Maya Parker enter, carrying the confident air of leaders who found their true authority. The talent pipeline program is exceeding targets, Maya reports. We're not just hiring diverse candidates. We're creating advancement pathways that didn't exist before. Kevin nods. The culture shift is the most remarkable part. Teams collaborate across old boundaries. People speak up without fear. The products are better because they incorporate more perspectives. And the financial results? Elijah asks. Shareholders who panicked during the transition are now our biggest advocates, Kevin confirms. Turns out doing the right thing is also profitable. After they leave, Elijah turns on the financial news. A segment shows Bradley Turner performing community service hours, part of his plea agreement. Another report covers Alexandra Bennett teaching a business ethics course, a rehabilitation program required by the court. Elijah switches off the screen, finding no satisfaction in their downfall. Justice was necessary, but watching their humiliation brings him no joy. His driver takes him to a modest office building in a neighborhood far from the gleaming corporate towers. The sign reads, Williams and Collins Foundation for Workplace Justice. Inside, his mentor awaits, Judge William Williams, the older black man who gave Elijah his first job at a civil rights law firm 30 years ago. You've been busy, Judge Williams says, gesturing to newspapers covering the Tech Vision transformation. I learned from the best, Elijah responds. They discuss the foundation's work, providing legal support to discrimination victims, funding undercover investigations, developing corporate accountability metrics. When I was starting out, we fought just to get in the door, the judge reflects. Now you're changing how the whole house operates. There's still so much to do, Elijah sighs. For every Tech Vision we transform, 10 more companies continue the same practices. But now they do it looking over their shoulders, Williams points out. Fear of consequences is a powerful motivator when appeals to morality fail. As evening falls, Elijah walks through a park where he often comes to think. He reflects on his journey from discrimination victim to federal judge to business leader, and now change agent. Each role has been a different tool for advancing the same cause, creating systems where people are truly judged by their character and contributions rather than their appearance. The janitor's uniform hangs ready in his closet, a reminder that true power often lies in being underestimated, and that justice, while sometimes delayed, can arrive from unexpected directions. The amphitheater at Berkeley Business School buzzes with anticipation as Elijah Collins takes the stage. His reputation now precedes him, the billionaire investor who posed as a janitor to expose corporate discrimination and transform a tech giant from within. He surveys the eager faces of future business leaders. You're being trained to accumulate power, Elijah begins without preamble. But today, I want to talk about how you'll use it. The students lean forward, laptops open, ready to capture wisdom from the man whose methods have become legendary in corporate America. The world doesn't always give you respect. Sometimes you have to command it, he continues. But remember, true power comes with responsibility to create change that outlasts you. For the next hour, Elijah shares insights from his career, weaving together lessons from his time as a judge, CEO, and undercover change agent. He discusses systemic discrimination not as a political issue, but as a business liability that undermines meritocracy and stifles innovation. The executives at TechVision didn't think of themselves as villains, he explains. They believed they were protecting company culture. That's the insidious nature of bias. It disguises itself as business judgment. As the lecture concludes, the screen behind him displays statistics from the year since the TechVision case. Discrimination complaints across the tech industry down 37%. Diversity in executive hiring up 42%. Shareholder resolutions demanding workplace culture reforms passing at unprecedented rates. One case created a ripple effect that's still expanding, Elijah notes. That's how change happens, not all at once, but through persistent pressure applied at the right leverage points. After the applause fades, Elijah returns to his office where his team awaits with updates on their current projects. Graphs and charts display the progress of ongoing investments, including several companies where Collins Capital has quietly acquired significant positions. On a separate screen, a familiar face appears, the CEO of Global Financial Partners, a banking conglomerate with troubling patterns in its hiring and promotion data. Elijah studies the man's confident smile. the same expression Bradley Turner once wore when he believed himself untouchable. His assistant enters with a garment bag containing a maintenance worker's uniform, custom-tailored to conceal its quality while ensuring Elijah can move comfortably during his next undercover assignment. Global Financial's quarterly maintenance contract starts next Monday, she reminds him. Your credentials and background are in place. They're expecting Edward James to report to facilities management at 8 a.m. Elijah nods, reviewing the initial intelligence. Complaints buried, whistleblowers silenced. Women and minorities concentrated in lower-paying positions despite qualifications. The familiar pattern that still pervades too many corporate towers. His team disperses to finalize preparations, leaving Elijah alone with his thoughts. He approaches the window, gazing at the city skyline dotted with corporate headquarters, each representing systems of power that have remained largely unchanged for generations. Until now. The following Monday, security cameras at Global Financial Partners capture a nondescript black man in his 50s entering through the service entrance, maintenance credentials hanging around his neck. He nods politely to the guard who barely glances up from his phone. Elijah Collins, now Edward James, pushes his cleaning cart into the elevator, a slight smile playing at the corners of his mouth as the doors close. Sometimes the most powerful person in the room is the one nobody notices. If this story of justice and transformation resonated with you, don't forget to hit that like button right now. Your support helps the Beat Stories channel continue bringing you these powerful narratives of courage and accountability. Ready for more stories that expose injustice and celebrate those who fight against discrimination? Subscribe to the Beat Stories channel for new videos every week that will inspire, challenge, and empower you. Hit the notification bell so you never miss our latest uploads.